I have to also remind myself that I'm a gamer as well, and I find modern games more appealing. They are better in every aspect than retro games. I have a nostalgia. I have a very good memories from these games, but they will be better with gameplay from now.
Game reviews for people who fucking have to work for a living.
Let's talk about the interface.
These games are, we're talking about electric guitars here. And what we're talking about is that if you think the electric guitar on its own, just sitting on the shelf or whatever, if you think that's an instrument, you don't know what you're talking about. It's only half of an instrument. The other half of the guitar is the amplifier. The guitar without the amplifier is not an instrument. And I think that's how games work, is that the game on its own without a player isn't doing anything. It's not doing anything at all. It's just sitting there, it's sitting there doing nothing. Ain't nothing good about it, nothing bad about it. It just is what it is. The player completes the circuit. When we're talking about games, we're talking about the game. We're not talking about the field. We're not talking about the ball. We're not talking about the fucking rules. Like, we're talking about the game. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the game.
Interface is all the things that connect the player and the machine. While we have this like unreasonable way of talking about old games, oh, it's retro, nostalgia, old, outdated, blah 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 blah. In the meantime, we're zipping around like future boys, getting our hands up in the guts, peering through the matrix, running cyberdeck hacks and heists and exploits like it's a goddamn William Gibson novel. That's how we're interfacing with these games. Interface is where save states and stage select and practice and button mapping and all that stuff's going to kind of figure in. It's also where you're going to find your Tom Nook mortgage payment, grind, progression unlock, insurance scam, pyramid scheme, all that shit. So we're going to start with the menu and the unlocks. The arcade mode is open from the jump. The difficulty modes are not unlocked from the jump. Locking the hardest difficulty, I don't get it. I'm not saying I'm like Billy Badass and that the hardest difficulty level is like where I'm at skill-wise. It gives me a view of the top that I want to see, to know if it's worth the trek. I am not here to fuck around. Let's just cut to the chase. Show me what you got. Just send me the dick pics. Please don't send me dick pics. So locking the hardest difficulty, Steam 2-hour refund window, kind of like shenanigans. For like the regular dildos, I'm not sure what it's for. Is it like you're afraid that someone's gonna like accidentally choose the highest difficulty and be like, this game's too hard, let me return it? I mean, no one's that stupid. Or maybe the idea is that like the feeling of earning it, of having unlocked it, will like encourage him to play. It's not gonna. The people who think like that are the people who are credit feeding through the game and think that they're done with it. I don't know, man. What I think developers should do is lock the easy mode. How about that? Ninja Dog style. R.I.P. Itagaki. As you know, I'm pro. Start at the hardest difficulty. When you get your little tushy kicked, unlock the hard mode. When that beats you up, unlock the normal. And on and on and on and on. Seeing the top of the mountain and getting your ass kicked down. So now you have a goal with which to climb back up to see if you can get through that original ass kicking. That makes a ton of sense to me. But a dev doing something like that would take balls the size of my balls. The path of the unlocks is kind of a mess. It's very convoluted, and by the time it was said and done, I feel like I got tricked through some kind of other kind of meta progression. Because the way the unlock system works is that you're put in a position where you're either going to make the game, you're either going to like go up the challenge modes to like make the game harder for yourself and more engaging, or you're going to stick with the easy modes to start playing for unlocks. That's such a grind. That's a grind. Modern devs are making ice cream. There's only one flavor. Controls. Terminator 2D No Fate has digital 8-way control. No analog funny business. No twin stick funny business. Which means you can map it onto an arcade stick very nicely. The options for controls are fantastic. Not only can you map every button that you want, you can map multiple buttons to one function. This is my arcade button layout. This is what works for me. It plays great on an arcade stick, and controls overall feel fantastic. There's a few isolated kinds of interactions that don't feel great, but for the most part, the controls feel spot on. Excellent. They did a great job. The game is fun to play with your hands. Having multiple characters with multiple different controls usually works, but sometimes it can be awkward. The interact button being sort of this like free-form button, and it uses back attack and beat 'em ups. It's the forward shot in the chase sections. It's the hide and seek button. Like, it's a little bit awkward because it's so underused in some parts and so like important in other parts too, that you're gonna have some easy mistakes just kind of like trying to remember what the hell's going on, and it does make one wonder if some Matthew Matosis style context sensitivity might have been the better way to go. But I think, again, for the most part, once you get the hang of it, it does feel good. I have fun playing this game in my hands. You got Sarah Connor, John Connor, Eddie Furlong, and the Schwarzenegger. Next to my head would be level design, but we're going to talk about scoring first. And I'll tell you right now that if there was no online leaderboard in that game, you see fucking people that you know. And I don't mean like I know you guys. I don't know your guts. I'm like, I know this one. I'm like, I know who the fuck that is. I want to beat their score. I saw fucking Mike AQD on there. I'm like, dude. I'm like, holy shit. I think I saw Go Game Go in there. I'm like, yo, what's up, dude? Who's that? Fucking Super Cece? Thinks she's better than me? Fuck that. Fuck all that. You ain't better than me. You ain't better than me. That online leaderboard, that little friendly competitive aspect drives the Just One Mores. It drives the desire to like get this game fucking down pat, and it's so much fun. It is the best game I played that came out this year. I love it. I won't play it all the time. It's just so goddamn sick. I don't think it would have the same pull for me personally if it wasn't for that leaderboard being a thing. Like I check it like I'm checking for emails. I'm like, am I still in the top 10? And I'm not. I got knocked out to like 13. I'm like, fuck, I gotta get back to work. I gotta get back on it, man. This is all you need. This is what it is. This is what gaming is. This is what it is. It has the goods. And like, and I know where I fuck up. I'm like, I gotta practice that pyramid stage, man. I gotta practice that pyramid stage with fallen blocks. I get real tripped up on that shit, doing some shit, and and I can definitely get more points in the dinosaur level. There's a couple places where like I'm like, I want to practice this. This game has a heavy emphasis on score. You can tell this by the interface component, which is that there are leaderboards for every mode of this game. If you've been following the channel since the OG days, since I was a little itsy bitsy spider crawling up the water spout, then you'll know that I'm a score freak. Kind of like a theme of the channel has been that being confronted with the issue that everyone's playing one game, but if I'm playing for score, I'm playing another game. And I happen to be picking games that other people either find too easy or too boring or whatever the case may be. Once I see that scoring system, my kind of like feeling is, well, if you're not taking it all the way to the top, then what are you really talking about? As my skill level has gone up, as I've had conversations with much smarter people who are a lot more experienced than I am, I've kind of like had to change my thinking about it a little bit, where I know that I'm doing something In the same way that Shinobi asks players to meet them halfway in terms of like pure tedium, that's happening to me on a level as far as like games with these scores go. You know, it doesn't take much for me to get excited. How scoring works in this game, in general, every enemy you kill, don't take damage, gets added into that chain. Every so many enemies, you get a multiplier up. That multiplier keeps cranking up for as long as you can no-miss the game. You know, so that's something that's encouraging some kind of like perfection. You're getting into like reactions, memorization. This is up my alley, where I got a real fucking WAP and wet-ass P word. For Sarah Connor stages, you also get a ×2 on any enemy kill if you kill it in proximity. If you kill it with a melee, I should know how to pronounce that word. Melee. If you kill it with a melee attack, melee. Smash Brothers melee. I don't know how you say that word. Close quarter combat. If you kill with a proximity attack, you kill with a proximity close quarter attack. Hit him with the butt of the gun. That is the Shinobi scoring. It's the Shinobi scoring system. It doesn't seem to mean the same level of perfection as the Shinobi scoring system, but you're speaking my language. But that is not the case in any of the stages in the quote-unquote arcade mode. Why? What the fuck? In the hands, mechanically, you can feel these developers, at least the developers of the Sarah sections, understand, like they understand the fundamental building blocks of run and gun games, of like these non-Contra, Rolling Thunder influenced run and gun games. That does not mean that they can put those pieces together.
Kind of like how there's like Occam's razor, where it's like the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. I have what I like to call Mark's razor, because I learned it from watching the Electric Underground play Euro Shmups. Just do the least you have to do as the player and see what happens. See what the game makes you do. It cuts through so much of the bullshit. If you're a modern developer trying to make a run and gun, if you look at like modern solutions, if you're like layering on new buttons, you're layering on new mechanics, fixed shot, free shot, let's do both. Let's have iframe dodge rolls. Let's have parries. If your level design, if your enemy placement, if your enemy behavior, if these mechanics are just like a box of toys that you're expecting players to use, just because they're cool, because they're fun, the Mark's razor cuts right through that stuff. And where you see you don't need any of this stuff, it's good toy design. It's not good game design. You know, imagine not having scoring systems and timers, but like where you can just kind of trot through these stages, and it's really up to you whether or not you're having fun or not to like take out the enemies and stuff. So how delightful is it to see when a game does crank up the pressure, and all of a sudden a lot of these things start to become useful, that a lot of these mechanics start to become things that you're reaching for. You know, that this like toy box starts to become something more of a toolbox, that you find yourself, as you're learning the game, you find yourself reaching for these things, and you're looking for solutions to problems, because there are problems. It's what a joy to see it. And I wish more devs were willing to fucking crank up some pressure. I don't think this game is particularly hard, but you just can't bullshit your way through it. You're gonna have to get to know me to get through this. You have to learn me. You have to learn what I'm about. And then when I'm satisfied with that, as the creator, when I'm satisfied with that, then we'll see what's what. You know, crank it.
Level design. You can almost divide run and gun by whether you run and gun with a free shot or whether you plant and gun with a fixed shot. Sarah has a fixed shot. She also has an aim button, which is a button for the fixed shot. Why does she have a button to plant her feet to fix her shot? I don't know, man. Because John Connor has a button to plant his feet and fix his shot. So you have the button there. So Sarah has the button too. Why would you ever use the aim button? Well, guess what? We'll get back to that. You can shoot while you're jumping. If you use like a turbo button, when you jump, your fire becomes the machine gun fire. Like you get super fast fire, but only when you jump, which is peculiar. And I'm sure a dev or a coder would be able to immediately pick up on why that's happening. It just seems like an odd oversight. She got a slide. The slide has an attacking hitbox. The slide has iframes, so you do have to space it. Like if you miss, you're going to be in a range that you can hit. The slide has a recovery frames at the end of it, so like you can't just like slide your way through the stages. Except you can cancel that animation with the fire button, and then you can cancel the fire into the slide. So you can slide cancel. Easiest way to do that is set up the turbo button. You can do it as the jump. You can do it as the slide. You can do it on the fire button. You can do it on the jump button. You can do it on both. That's gonna be your easiest way to slide cancel, and you can really start scooting around. Now remember, all these things combined, it's game breaking. I think it's game breaking in a fun and interesting way. Is it does make her game. It does make her sections of the game play very differently, and really put the scoring into play. I don't know if they tested any of this stuff. You hit the fire button up close, it will do the proximity attack. It will do the melee attack. But you also have a button for it, like Shinobi 3, 6 button, or like Thunder Fox. There's also little iframes in that melee attack. It is nice if you can time it, but also can feel really shitty to just get blasted in the face while you're doing the startup of it. Peculiar that at the end of the attack, you get iframes on it. That's how Sour works. How the enemies work. Now, with this toolkit, it's easiest to see the issues with the enemy design in the endless mode. The endless mode is just a long corridor that you just keep fighting enemies in. Endless mode should have been the stage 2 boss with escalating levels of enemy coming at that door, probably peaking in some version of 6 of the T-800s or something. It should have just kept escalating in that with the 2-tier. When you have it just on one plane, when you just have it on one long hallway, you see the problems immediately. Very little, if anything, can threaten you when you're crouched. This is balanced by the fact that you have a fixed shot when you crouch, but you can slide, and you can slide cancel. Where you're actually thinking and making choices is to make sure you don't get caught in a proximity attack with fire, with a bullet coming at you, missing your iframes. But nothing can really threaten you. It's really your game to fuck up. We see the toolkit. We see where the enemies work. All Sarah's enemies are 2-shot enemies. So this is very much in the language of Rolling Thunder. You're like, okay, well, is the geometry of the levels going to create the challenge with this set of enemies like it does in a game like Rolling Thunder? Does it do that? No. So if it's not doing that, are we just going to throw bodies at the players to overwhelm you? No. Are we like tricky platforming with really nasty enemy placements and ambushes like the console Shinobi games? No. Where does the challenge come from? Threats are only really happening at what I call ambushes at pace, where if you just walk forward at the top speed that you can walk forward, things are going to come at you like in an ambush style. The easiest way to do it is just not keep walking forward like an asshole. You'll see these threats come onto the screen in a way that you can handle them. You'll see that a lot in the genre. Going through the screen as slow as you can is a really strong tactic in a lot of run and gun games. So where does the pressure come from? A layer above. Pressure comes from the timer. Tension comes from the chain. So if you don't care about scoring, the tension's gone. Once you understand the generosity of the timer, the pressure is gone. On the whole, these are my favorite and the most fun stages in the game. Even though they're easy, they are the most arcade-like of all the stages. So it blows my mind why these stages were cut from the arcade mode and not the centerpiece of the arcade mode. Let's talk about Future War. What the fuck is wrong with Europeans? So John has free aim. Think Contra. He also has the aim button to fix his shot. The aim button also fires at different angles than the free shot. So where Mommy has a slide, John has a roll. It also has some iframes in it. Does the roll have an attack hitbox like Crime City? No. There's like choices to be made that I don't think these people are making. Shinobi Legions has this role that's like fully invulnerable, and you can land on a body, and there's no contact damage. In this game, there is contact damage, but there's no interaction to get you off of what you hit. But like when you take away the knockback, keep the contact damage, so there's no interaction that's happening. It ends up feeling like absolute shit when you can roll onto somebody and like then you're just kind of stuck there. And now you have to move again. Now you have to make another move off this because you're on the character taking damage. So now you have to move out of it double fucked. The most charitable thing I can say about these stages, if you look at them as like an homage to like the Terminator games on the Mega Drive and Sega CD, then this is a better version of that. But that is like Euro that is like textbook Euro run and gun trash. Sorry, Europeans, we don't like Duragon here. The threats to the player in the Future War stages is European to the max.
Plasma activate. Plasma activate. Plasma activate.
Ambush, 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 ambush. It's one thing for the mistakes to feel awful, and generally that comes down to whether or not you think it's your fault. Fair enough. But when your victories feel awful, that is not good. Now bear in mind that all this conversation so far is really only relevant to the highest difficulty level, or at a seriously remedial skill level, because of this game's checkpoints. Every difficulty level, including hard mode, is so generous with checkpoints that it makes all this stuff moot. Imagine like a little kid like taking a shower and like shits in the shit and like takes a shit in the shower, and the little kid's solution is to like push the shit through the grate with its feet. This may be the worst metaphor I've ever made on the channel. But that's kind of what these checkpoints are doing. If you're like casual or even into like casual core, you don't mind this shit as much. And you have no problem just pushing it through the grate. It's like it never happened. You push this shit through the grate in your casual mind, it's like it never happened. What is wrong? What is wrong with my brain? Bring up the Mark meme. Difficulty clarifies design. Ain't that the truth? Try to like speedrun a stage, you know? Speedrun the game on if you speedrun the game on easier modes, you literally don't have to do anything but just move as fast as you can. You can blow through the entire game that way. You can blow through the entire game in 15 minutes. Where a more competent player is really gonna field the checkpoints is on the gimmick stages. Let's start with the beat 'em up biker bar. Naked Arnie, no jump, it's all grounded. You got a punch button with a 2-piece combo, your shoulder charge, which is essentially like your jump kick, and like pretty broken. You have back attack, which knocks enemies down and away. You have a pummel, which isn't great. You have a back throw, and I think there's a block button. I forget that there's even a block. The only thing you'd want to block, you can't block anyway. So Like, I don't think this is a bad setup. Like, from the moveset, like, this can be cool. I can rock with this. And the enemies come in. The enemies are slow. I don't mind that he's slow, but the enemies are slow. There's no like health damage. It's like a time attack. So you take damage and it just takes your clock down. Like I think it's a really cool way to do it. There's no invulnerability on any of the damage things, so you can get hit twice at the same time. The really awkward whatever the grab proximity is to get someone yoked up, whatever the yoke box is, it feels awful and very unreliable. And then the shoulder charge. The shoulder charge is so strong that I think like most people are going to default to just kind of spamming that. If enemies aren't grouped up for it, if you can't keep catching them, you can shoulder charge past them. So you can create some problems. So it's not like perfect cheese. It's not a perfect cheese like a really good Swiss or a brie, but it is cheese nonetheless. It is a problematic cheese, like a Kraft Singles. Like I don't think these are problems on paper. Right? These aren't paper problems. I think you can make a good game with this moveset. I think you can make a good game with this premise. It's somewhere closer to execution, but in between the paper and the execution, there is that fundamental space. And I think what's so particularly frustrating about this one is that these are the creators of Final Vendetta. What the fuck happened? It just doesn't seem like there's any connective tissue between these two games and these developers. This will probably get cut, but there's a 2-guy team for Final Vendetta, and there's a 2-guy team for this game, but they're not the same 2 guys. So by deduction, by put my Sherlock Holmes hat, you have to believe that the lead designer, the leader, is the leader of the Final Vendetta game is not the one did not participate in T2. And my guess is probably taking the lead on He-Man. The guy who's now attached with Bitmap Bureau, and I'm not sure if it's internal or if this came down from the company that bought them, and they just kind of thrust. Whose game was a Game Boy port of a Rareware Jetpack, where Final Vendetta feels like a rejection of Euro shit. Of a lot, not only Euro shit but console shit. You try and get the European out of the European design philosophies. This is as good as it gets. The chase stages. At first glance, you're thinking arcade. You're thinking Data East. These bonusy kind of interlude stages. You still lose a life on them, but they're really in a bonus context. It's a bonus stage with table stakes. But it's not Data East. It's Battletoads Turbo Tunnel. It's Rareware
Contra.
I'm not gonna say
Contra.
Stuck on YouTube. Am I gonna say
Contra.
Stuck on YouTube? Man, the chase sections become very strong. It's like QT. Now, I'm not against reaction tests and stuff. Neon Inferno does this too. I think Neon Inferno does chase stages better. Neon Inferno is using the Turbo Tunnel as another layer, and keeping with their theme of multiple planes, they're using Turbo Tunnel as kind of a layer on top of to confound the run and gun gameplay. In No Fate, it's just Turbo Tunnel, and if there is shooting in the stage, are discrete from the QTE. By the time it's all said and done, it is almost pure QTE, but the QTE is not confined to the chase stages. Most of the boss fights also cash out as QTE. Most of these boss fights are red light, green light, QTE. Nothing to do with spacing, nothing to do with positioning. It's red light, green light. It's red light, green light. Red light, green light. Red light, green light. The bosses that don't fall into this red light, green light QTE are the more fun bosses in the game. It's another thing that makes it so frustrating. They have to know, because when it works, it works. When they're doing the thing, they're doing the thing. But it's they're so afraid to do the thing. There's this term that goes around that I think is funny. It's called parry slop. I love that. I call everything slop now. Fucking water slop, microphone slop, video slop, cat slop. I love it. And it kind of goes back to Sekiro, but I think we should expand it to Punch-Out. If you trace it back to Punch-Out, It's not a one button solution. You've got multiple choices, and you just got to pick the right choice from like 2 choices or 3 choices, left or right, duck or punch or whatever. You're picking from an assortment of things, and you can expand the definition, and then you see that is everywhere. That is everywhere. It's the negation of spacing, and these just like making these like, you know, picking of your like A, B, C, D choices. CA, press A. CB, press B. Punch out slot. Now we got to talk about the steel mill. You want to take a cutscene, spice it up with a little QTE. But how do we make it more, I don't know, engaging? Oh, I know. Let's put it on top of an escort mission. So the level is, you have to like hit your marks to be at these specific places, because if you veer off them, all kinds of like janky interactions happen. Dude, it sucks so bad. When you're in like the easy modes where it's just like continues and where it's like continues in health, and it's all free, it doesn't bother you in the same kind of way, because you're just like, I'm just gonna, you know what I mean? You're just like you're just, you know, towing the shit through the grate. But when you're at the higher difficulty levels, if you're trying to perform, if you're trying to like maintain a chain, this is where the fuck up happens. It's such a drag. And I'll be honest, fucking up on this stage is so awful that I don't want to run this game at the highest of. I don't want to play it very hard anymore because of that stage. This is gaming hell. This is a ring of hell in gaming. I hate this stage so much.
The power of IP. We should all be very suspicious of it. It sounds simple, but I think it is a deep, very loaded. It is a like very psychological. It is a very powerful magic, and we should all have defenses around it and ways to think about things clearly and correctly, to not be hypnotized by these things. And hopefully I have to talk about that later, but I gotta go.
It was the winter. Just a few months ago, it was the summer. Can you believe it?
The hospital level is the stealth level. The hospital level, I think, has that like perfectly broken down, like Blind Sages and the Elephant kind of quality, that depending on your player motivation is what you're going to think it is. At the easy difficulties, there is no stealth. You can just power through. You can just speed through it. You can just speed through it and kill everything and save the time. You don't really need the stealth. I think there's one part that's forced. There is no real stealth. If you're looking for a clear, if you're looking for just like an easy clear, you're not going to see any of this stuff. You're playing for survival, probably going to only go through this thing once. You get through it how you get through it. At the higher difficulty levels, there are certain enemy encounters and certain sections that the stealth is forced. Psychos like me who get like into the scoring system and really want to like, you know, push the whole thing out. If you were designing for score, it would be very easy to, for a stealth attack, to more points than a regular attack. That would at least make you feel rewarded for how boring it is. There's no better way to do it. You just have to do it. So there's an achievement for getting all the stealth kills, but not like an in-game formal score bonus, which to my mind solves the whole thing. Just give a score bonus, and that's your achievement, right? Is to have a higher score. There's this other kind of player motivation that I don't think we talk about too much. The Chivos, the trophy hunters, looking for this like sort of like OCD 100% completion. It's in that space that the developer has its like chance to tell you how to play the game. I've never liked achievements. I've never liked trophies. I don't know if it's like a generational thing. Yeah, you press jump 5 times. Congratulations. Obviously, this all came from the Xbox Live era. So you have this weird liminal space where all the things that would be considered like player achievement, all like the skill-based stuff and performance-based stuff, has all got whittled away from these games, and then gets like added back in this really into this like meta layer that is then where the developer has the opportunity to like kind of like, well, if you want if you want to play this way, these like suggestions for like ideas for like, you might like this, you might want to check this out, you might find this challenge. So now as like the arcade games get reintroduced back into the space, all the achievements and trophy hunting kind of like subvert that in a way. If you're always running this list in your head, if you're always looking at this like meta score, like achievement thing, like it kind of changes your relationship with games in a way. You're just kind of like going in, trying to get all these trophies and then getting out. I don't know. I think we need to talk about that a little more. Like other like non-video games don't have this like wide open player motivation. But no one's becoming like a professional boxer to like do cardio. So it becomes broken out into like boxer size class or whatever. But we're not calling both of those things boxing.
Like these games are at best vessels. Empty vessels for players to fill, and it's very difficult to talk about the empty vessel without talking about the player. I watched this dude run Shinobi doing these S rank, no hit, no damage stage runs in the arcade mode. What's his name? Like Phrase or Fires or Furs or Frost. Get some vowels in there. Got no vowels in it. Oh, let's say your fucking name. I'm not the only person watching these things, and certainly the only one commenting on this stuff. I know the game, and I can see him. I can see him on the other side of it, and his gameplay is beautiful. It's this very, I guess it's not private anymore, but it's this very, like, intimate, private moment with, I think, the #1 certified hater of Shinobi, and the only dude playing this game. You know, he puts it up to no one, and I'm watching it, and that's it. I have, my own frustrations with the scoring system. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I want to see, I wish I could get him to test things in certain ways to be like, I don't think this is necessary. I think this can be more optimal in certain ways. Do you want to optimize it? But it's like, it's a performance, and I'm seeing it. The only comment I left is like, this game doesn't deserve you. That's how I feel. I'm like, I can see this guy, and I'm like, shit, dude. What's he gonna do routing shmups? I want to see him apply himself to some arcade shit, or like maybe like Magenta Horizon or something, like I want to see him apply himself. I just think he'd be a killer, cracking open Shinobi Legions and just showing us how fucking sick that game is. It's frustrating to me to see it that way, but then it's also like who the fuck am I? Who the fuck am I to say? I don't know this man. I don't know where he comes from. I don't know what he's about. I don't know what he's going through. I don't know what he's feeling when he's playing this thing. Maybe this is that feeling that like Dace and Mark had when they were calling on, inexperienced beginner players to like make content and make commentary and like talk about this stuff. I want to know where you're coming from, because there's something I'm not seeing. There's something I have a blind spot here. There's something I need to, there's something I'm trying to understand here. And like, maybe I'm having the same thing with Terminator, I can see people saying the same shit. They're like, this game fucking sucks. And they're right. They're not wrong. They're like, this game sucks. They're like, this game sucks. Look at this, look at this, look at that. And it's like, they're not fucking wrong. And, I'm not going to say that you're not seeing what I'm seeing in terms of the vessel. But all I can do is try to show you what you're not seeing about me, where I am at in my life, in my gaming journey, and just what this was for me. It's the best I can do. It's the best I can do. Shame on me for calling something. Shame on me for calling something legit, which sounds like good. It takes a big man to admit when he's wrong. I'm not a big man. You ain't getting that apology. We're gonna keep spinning our wheels. We're gonna keep falling into traps. We're gonna keep this conversation in the fucking juvenile, media saturated, money ridden fucking ridiculous consumer garbage land if we can't get past good, bad, like, dislike. If we can't explain why we enjoy things that aren't good, if we can't explain why we don't enjoy things that are, if we can't get past this like good, bad, like, dislike matrix and the way that we talk about things, there's nothing to talk about anymore. We're all falling into traps, losing money, losing time, and not understanding, not connecting with these games, and certainly not connecting with each other. There's nothing else to talk about if we can't get past that. We gotta crack these games open. We gotta crack these heads open. Hit them skulls with the can opener. That matrix of like, good, bad, like, dislike, that matrix is a prison.
So what I'm bringing to the table as a player, my psychology, my ambitions, my drive, what moves me forward is the beginning and end of my enjoyment with this game. Like, I had fun testing it, and breaking it, and experimenting with it. Every time when I'm ready to like quit out because some dumb fucking QTE at the end of the run that I failed, I kept wanting to go back to it in like that, like the same way you like play with like a loose tooth. That's like, you know, the same way you like kind of have like a toothache and you kind of keep playing with it, like kind of feeling that pain, and you're sort of like pushing through the pain, looking for like a kind of like a relief. You know, that kind of stuff can really get to me. That kind of stuff can really motivate me. My motivation is creating the moments of tension. It's creating the moments of focus. When I'm having those moments, it's like I am having fun with this game. And then I tried out a game called Emerald Blue. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? If you're coming from this like Chivo world, if every new game that comes out is another opportunity to like add to your gamer score, if that's like the meta that you feel like you're in, then you're kind of like going wherever the wind blows you. Best I can hope for with a game like No Fate, it presents this like interface buffet of all these different ways that you can approach the game. I can hope has enough like formal hooks in it to kind of bring someone's motivation into focus. And you're drawn to this game for whatever reason, and all of a sudden the scoring system kind of like clicks something online for you for a way that you like to play games. Oh man, I like the arcade scoring stuff. Maybe let me look at like what is like score play for an arcade game look like, or like the formal speedrunning stuff. Maybe it pushes you in that direction. Maybe I'll look at these like Mega Drive era like console action platformer run and guns, and maybe I'll see what it looks like to do a speedrun in something like this. I feel like something like that is there. I think it's easy for us who are doing our own thing in like the arcade space to like dismiss that as a possibility.
Like, how did this pan out for you?
As far as like learning about like the genre, like the real this thing that is more than just, you know, like a style of game. It was actually fun. It was actually have you ever heard the game Valfaris?
Oh, dude.
And I'm like, why is this way? Why is this so hard? Why did I get to do this quote unquote trial and error and these checkpoints? But the thing is, I could not stop playing it. But by the time I finished that game, I was just like, it was like an amnesia, like a fog lifted. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what games were like. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, I just got to grab retro games where that people are looking for this kind of stuff. So like the next one ended up being, it was Android Junos 2. That was on sale. And this was like the magical part about that. I searched it on YouTube. Out of the first like 5 searches, I got Shmup Junkies video, I got Electric Underground's video, I got E-Tramp Bullet Heaven's video, and Shmups. Shmups on Switch. So from there, God, well, we must have been when we were like in our like probably like my early 20s. We used to go to this place that would like give us money to like test things out on us. So this one was for like some kind of like poison ivy like relief cream.
They would you sign up. They would infect you with poison ivy, like in a little dime on your arm, and then you come back and they would test it. Then he gives me this form to fill out about it, and then there's this thing called the itch scale. On a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being no itch and 10 being the worst itch you can imagine. How itchy is this? And I was like a 6, about a 6.5. And they're like, well, we're sorry, Mr. Spiders. You're not going to be able to go to this next part of the test. You're simply not itchy enough. I'm like, what's got to be? And they're like, it's an 8 out of 10. It could be an 8. I'm like, all right, then change it to an 8. And she's like, no, you already said it was 6.5. I can't change it to an 8. And I was like, it's 10 is the worst itch I can imagine. I'm like, this is very itchy. But it's not as itchy as oh, I don't know, ants crawling up my urethra. And I just thought that off the top of my head. It's not a test about itching. It's a test about your imagination. I gotta go to work, man. Here's my review. 6 out of 10. 0 out of 1. 10 out of 10 certified angel. The juxtaposition between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, I feel like I saw where something happened that I just want to kick it with you because you're kind of like the person who threw Terminator back into my head. That it's real talk. And I realized watching it that I've only actually seen Terminator on all cut up with commercials and edited and shit. I never actually saw the whole fucking movie. So that was my opinion. I was like, here's this old movie on TV. So that was my opinion. I was like, here's this old movie on TV. Here's the good one now that's good.
It's a little bit disturbing because they took the Terminator and turned it into a kids movie.
Yeah.
And that is a hyper violent kids movie. Who the fuck am I is what I always think.
Yeah.
And it's there's things I like about it, but it's you compare it to the Terminator, and I feel like the Terminator is far superior. All of a sudden, it turns into this Disney ride. And you can see it begin to happen right about the time the Terminator happens, where it's okay, so you took the thing that was a special thing that was really intense, that was for a very specific audience, not children, and maybe sci-fi nerds, maybe grindhouse nerds, maybe the slasher film crew, the action movie people, the rated R movie people, and you turned it into a movie for the family. I think the Terminator is terrifying. It'll never stop. It'll never get tired. It will not quit until you're dead.
Yeah. And there's no asking questions. He's relentless. He's a human shark. He's relentless, and nothing stops. And every time you think nothing stops, it's never going to stop. And that's that is a definitional version of anxiety. Is you're just you can't stop. There's things you just can't control, and they're coming for you, and you can't do anything about it.
Never gonna stop. Yeah.
It's technological anxiety horror movie. Have you ever been afraid of a robot since that fucking movie? It's robots are fucking WALL-E now. That was the scary fucking robot. Is a movie that I saw with my dad.
That's how it was marketed though. It was the rated R movie dads were going to take their sons to.
And seeing it now, I'm like, oh fuck, they turned the monster into the family pet. And then now he's a fucking toy, and he's doing the Hasta La Vista Baby, and it's like this is a fucking humiliation ritual.
Because the Terminator is often in T2. He's a clown.
Yeah,
you said it's a humiliation.
Yeah.
He's the father figure now.
Like a father pet. Do you know what I mean? It's so.
Your leg down. That thing was leg down.
Yeah. That's fucking weird. And then he tells him not to kill. He tells the Terminator not to terminate, and that's good.
Right.
It's fucking crazy. Right. And then the part where Sarah's talking about where she bails, where she's talking about why he's a good father is because he's gonna listen to him. I was like, what the fuck is this?
That's an amazing point, because it's it'll be a great father figure for him, and it's well, the kid made him stand on one foot.
Yeah, what kind of yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. It's weird.
In charge.
Yeah,
it's disturbing. Father, she wants this thing as his father figure, and it's well, the kid's running the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
You're selling action figures. It's the movie. The movie is just a commercial for the action figures.
Yeah.
I have to also remind myself that I'm a gamer as well.
And I find classic games more appealing. They are better in every aspect
than modern games. I have FOMO. I have very good conversations about these games, but they would be better with gameplay from Ven.